Social studies, I don't see this semester. Social studies area is your world history. That's the same in high school. Social studies, world history, geography, all those things. And you also, that's a great question for the high school parents. You're going to see world history A, world history B. It's a lot like ELA 3, 4, and ELA 1, 2. We're trying to get 11th and 12th graders to be our core group for the world history B, and 9th and 10th world history A. And LAVA is just how, if you look across the schedule and you're picking, it's kind of how it's set up for the other classes. If your student's a 9th grader and they end up in world history B, that is okay. The world history classes are not sequential. They don't build on each other. We just want to make sure if they take world history B now, that they take world history A later, different content. Who are the teachers for the clubs for 3rd to 5th graders? It's the core teachers that will be teaching that team. It is Laura and Isabella, who are new teachers, Mariana, and in addition to that, we have Holly, who is our fitness, but also a local guru of cooking, so she'll be doing the cooking. Hope that answered your questions there. Second grader just observing, have experiencing financial check. All right, thank you, Jesse. Are there any other questions about the electives or the schedule, the course schedule? Okay, feel free to add them there. And in the meantime, I'm going to come over and talk about this one. So the question was, online, offline program, how will it work throughout the year? So on and so on. Will be the same teachers. And I know this is a big question for everyone because we've talked about the ability to provide remote learning, not only for our students, but maybe for students who are living geographically somewhere else, and the concern of how this will all work. We actually have several steps in place as kind of scenarios so that we can grow across. And later on, sometime probably in the beginning of September, end of August, I would like to invite families to come together and brainstorm, to invite your ideas and thoughts into how this could work, and also share what we have so that we can make sure this grows correctly. For now, obviously, all students are going to be remote students until the government of Costa Rica allows us to come on campus. All the students that we have right now are students who are in that area or would geographically be coming to our school. There are a few families who have shared that even when the government says it's okay to come back face to face, they are not comfortable doing that and they would like to remain remote. So our plan right now is to be able to cover both things, using the same teachers, still keeping our class sizes no larger than 10. Depending on the grade level, we'll have to look at that case by case. We have some areas and some scenarios where we may add some coaches behind the scenes that would work as liaisons between the teacher and the remote learner. But if I'll give you one example of what we're looking at doing right now for the upper grades. And if it works and we think it will work, we do the same thing for the lower grades. And that would be that we'll place a webcam in the classroom. We'll have a dedicated device that will run the Zoom meeting and be connected to the monitor in the classroom. The idea behind this is the remote learner will be able to see the classroom and see the students who are there and be able to see the teacher. The webcams we're looking at would be a wide angle webcam so the teacher can be anywhere in the room. Additionally, we'd like to have the teacher have a lapel so that the audio is able to hear well, and also a central microphone. So if there's any class discussion, the volume's working just fine. The idea then is to bring those pieces together. I believe even when we're online or half and half, you're going to see a much heavier focus back into our project-based learning tenets, which really means a lot more student interaction with each other. And that's all the grades. Of course, it will look different from kindergarten to senior level, but all the kids should be doing a lot more conversing with each other, whether they're on face-to-face, all online, or a mixture of those two things. And so we believe this setup will work. there are some concerns. You know, there's concerns that possibly a teacher can be distracted by the student online or with the students in the class and not be able to connect. We understand that. We have a few ideas in place. We're still working them out. But for example, one thing that we do want to make sure that we address is if it's a technical issue. We don't want a teacher having to stop class or start class 10 minutes late because they can't get the Zoom set up, or that a student's having trouble and they're WhatsApping the teacher saying, I can't get on. In those cases, what we're going to be doing is we'll have someone behind the scenes or two people, assistants, and we'll have protocols in place for those remote learners so that when a remote learner is facing some sort of technical difficulty, they're not bugging the teacher or interrupting the class, but they go to a different person who will help them get set up. Same thing for the teacher. If the teacher's having trouble with the technology, they're not wasting the time that should be used for instruction, but instead they can quickly message the assistant. The assistant comes in and takes over. It's not always going to be perfect, but I do believe that our plans will minimize any of those interruptions. And I really, if you've ever been a teacher in a classroom, interruptions are something we kind of deal with all the time. And I think we'll make our way through it, but it will be a constant requesting information and feedback from parents and us making tweaks to it to continue to improve. Does that answer the question from the person who was asking that? I'll just throw one more thing. As we get things going, if there is a point where we are able to add more remote possibilities, our plan is not to ever have more than 10 students per class. If that starts to happen, there's other things in places like where we will add coaches or eventually add teachers. What we don't want to do is overload a teacher to a point where we're not providing what we've shared before, which is the 10-to-1 ratio. All right, so to be clear, third grade clubs are the new electives, and we have to choose those by tomorrow. Yes, I think the deadline is tomorrow. I'm going to say yes if that's what you're saying. It must have been, I do believe, I remember hearing Friday. And students are allowed to change in the first couple weeks, so of what they want to do. But also just to build on that, third graders also have those extras each day. So it's not just clubs, they get the other things as well. Will there be a focus on outdoor classes? Oh, great. So yes, so here's some different ideas. And again, this all kind of comes back to when the government says you're able to return face-to-face and what that looks like. If there is a certain square footage per classroom that we have to abide by, because right now the government's saying no more than 10 students. We're okay with that. But if they say there's a square footage, or as a school, as a community, we say, well, we're still not feeling comfortable with that. We've had conversations about using our large campus area to create learning areas where we could have students in groups outside, whether they're younger students with a teacher all outside, or they're older students, and we have a group up in the classroom and part of the group outside in a designated spot. Those are all conversations we've had, and well, we can definitely continue to talk more about that. One second, there we go. To build on that, Natalie, even at this point though, we can't require groups to meet. If we do and we're a school, we'll be violating their policy from my understanding. We've had that conversation. We even had the conversation about, could we at least have skateboarding club on Fridays where kids can gather together? And when we talked to our lawyer, he said, no, that would be violation of what you're doing. Online learners, oh, thank you. I'm just going down my list. So, hope online parents have parents in each class. So the question about WhatsApp groups, I agree. I think as we kind of go into the school year, our discussion about how we can use our WhatsApp groups, we obviously have the big WhatsApp group. as anyone who was there last year knows, that sometimes that can blow up with hundreds of messages that maybe only deal with first grade. And so as a community, we definitely can talk about that and figure out the best way to divide that up. And is it, my first thoughts are is that we do a first and second grade WhatsApp group, because it's the same teachers, same set of kids. And we could do a third through fifth grade WhatsApp group and a 6 through 12. Kindergarten and pre-K are off on their own, and they could do something there. Great question. So this goes back to our plan of coming back. So the integration plan from online into the classroom. If the government says everybody can come back face to face, then we will just switch over and go into that. It could be a very quick switch, just as we did a quick switch to online. I think we'll have a little heads up notice, and we'll be able to plan for that piece there. There are, again, some families who are saying, even when that happens, we're not comfortable, and we're going to try our best to support them and do that mix. Between now and then, it is our hopes to get the classroom set up with the ability of the webcams and the monitors. All the classrooms, I believe, have monitors already, so it's the webcams and the microphones that we're looking for. We also still have to look at what would this look like in the lower grades. Our third through fifth graders did a great job last spring, and I think we can continue to build upon that. The first and second graders, that's a different piece there. Our teachers did a great job, but we'll definitely have to try and take a look at that, and it might be more of a case-by-case basis. I don't know if I answered your question as far as that goes. If not, please maybe add a little more clarifying to what you're hoping to find out. From not coming with online learning, where would that leave us? Oh, okay. So if you're not coming with online learning, here's what I'm going to say: I'm going to ask that we give online learning a chance. Hopefully it won't be all year. We're trying to do things differently. There's online learning that's called asynchronous, where you just get a program and your student sits in front and clicks away. And then there's synchronous, which is what we did last spring, which was we gave instruction and the students were there and they zoomed in every day. What we would really like to do this year is kind of be trailblazers, as long as we're being forced to stay online, is to take what I believe our teachers did a good job of last time and making it even better. And again, that's by bringing that project-based learning in. We believe if we do the project-based learning online, we naturally add that social emotional learning context to it, because we can get the students communicating and talking to each other. I'm meeting with all the teachers tomorrow. They're going to start doing some more training early next week online. And then on August 3rd, the teachers all come back. And the teachers are going through a 1-week project themselves, so they can feel what it's like to be a student doing a project. And we're going to be doing a lot of it virtually, so they have that experience of what it's like to be doing it virtually as well. And the project is really built on this whole idea of how can we integrate project-based learning to online learning. So at the end of the week, these teacher teams are going to present to each other how they believe is the best way to do this. And in the meantime, they're going to experience them themselves. I'm very excited because I think we're going to discover some new ideas. And some of the things that we're looking for them to do is improve the Google Classroom experience, not just from the student view, but also from the parent view. We're going to ask them to improve the interaction experience not just between the teacher and the student, but between student to student. And we're going to ask them to improve the experience of feedback. So the feedback meaning not just the end of the product where they get a grade, but the feedback that they can give to the student, and also how can we share this with parents so they can kind of follow along without feeling overwhelmed with a whole bunch of emails.